and the reason why I'm here, of course. My name is Mihaela, and I'm a co-founding member of Social Capital, which is the platform that you're joining us today for. In the impact scene, I'm a host for a Force for Good podcast, which is an educational platform meant to spread awareness about initiatives around the Sustainable Development Goals. As well as I have co-founded Concerto, the Impact Company, which is an organization and advisory firm that supports with strategic advice companies on how to adopt sustainable practices and rewire their business models from a sustainability standpoint. Now, today we have with us, on my left-hand side, Thea Myhrvold. She is the co-founder and CEO of Teach Me Now, which is an online demand educational platform connecting experts, teachers, and mentors to those that want to expand their knowledge. Thea's passion has always been making knowledge accessible to all, and that's why her work has been recognized with numerous awards such as Cartier Women Awards, as well as Inc. Arabia's female startups founded by females. Then Abdulla and Nuaimi is the founder of Yalla Give, which is the first online charity platform licensed in the Middle East. And the platform offers personal crowdfunding and online fundraising to its members, with his experience also revolving around fundraising and nonprofits management, which is why all the initiatives led by him are supporting the less privileged ones. And last but not least, we have Dillon. He is the co-founder of Nuaimi, which is the first fintech company in the Gulf region, which uses mobile banking technology to provide accounts, financial inclusion, and access to low-cost remittance for low-income migrant workers. Ian's expertise is in the financial sector, where he previously held various positions with HSBC. Now, this was just in a nutshell introduction about our panelists, and I'm curious to hear more from you about your entrepreneurial journey, and more importantly, what inspired you to start your organizations, because Jana mentioned that it is very important to look at the person as well.
Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you all for being here today. So as you very kindly mentioned, my name is Thea, and I'm the proud founder and CEO of teachmenow.com, a global marketplace that connects teachers and students all over the world. In fact, our first class happened between a professor in Venezuela teaching a student in Saudi Arabia, and we've seen global connections ever since. So it's truly empowering to see how we're making knowledge accessible on the one side, but also creating economic opportunity on the other side. So we've connected thousands of students and teachers all over the world, and due to the success of teachmenow.com and the recognition and awards that we received, a lot of institutions, initiatives, schools, and other enterprises said, "We love your platform, we love your technology. How can we use it for us?" So we're also very proud to announce, through the support of Expo2020 and Expo Live, that we work with initiatives such as His Highness Sheikh Mohammed's 1 million Arab coders. So we're the official live mentorship platform for learning how to code. It's now also built in Arabic, and we're reaching thousands of students and teachers here in the MENA region. And also another social enterprise that works with Expo Live is in Argentina and Latin America, teaching people of determination, career mentorship, and career skills in partnership with Accenture. So we've also built a platform now in Spanish, helping people of determination find a job with the right career mentor for them, all virtually. So we've reached thousands of students and teachers truly all over the world. So in a nutshell, that's what I do. And my passion started for this kind of work in Geneva. So I studied international relations and economics with the goal of working for the UN. But as a young person, I was very quick to find out that the impact that I wanted to see, the impact that I wanted to have, wasn't coming through that kind of work that I was doing. So I had a lot of internships, got people a lot of coffee, and translated a lot of documents. But I realized the power of technology is scale. And through technology, I could have that impact that I wanted to see in the world. So as a young person, I thought, okay, how can I scale the work that I want to do? And I started teaching. I had 2 students. One had ADD and one had dyslexia. And they were both predicted to fail their exams. But I will never forget being there on their graduation day, watching them both graduate with way above average scores. and just seeing that change in those 2 students and how that affected their life. And the next year, and the next year, and the next year, I got overbooked. So I had students all over the world booking online classes with me, but I was looking for a platform like Teach Me Now to connect with them. So that's where the idea came from. And being half Arabic, I just want to say, it was very important for me to come back to this region and start something positive from this part of the world too. So very important for me to start a positive story for, but also from the Middle East.
Thank you, Thea.
Thank you very much, Mihaela, for the invitation. It's an honor to be here, and thank you very much, everybody. So for me, Yalla Give is my 3rd business. I started my first business back in 2014. But before that, I was a fundraiser. I helped multiple organizations from Europe, from Africa, Asia, and I personally raised nearly $94 million. As a fundraiser with international experience, I found that there is a lack of digital transformation in the fundraising sector. Not only here in the Middle East and in the emerging markets, but globally. If we look, for example, at the UK, where it's the most mature fundraising market, still, there are like only one platform and small competitors. So I found that charities really need to transform into digital, like all the sectors, like for example, transport, e-commerce, etc. And I started Yalla Give last year, after many ongoing battles with the regulators, because fundraising is a sensitive topic. But eventually we were registered at the International Humanitarian City, and we have also another license here in Dubai mainland. We have many members, and with the implementation from Expo grant, we're looking to expand to more countries in the region. But essentially, our idea was to help the charities and people with a humanitarian need to fundraise effectively in the platform, and for donors to give through a trusted platform where all cases are scrutinized by us. I'm a lawyer by background, as well as fundraiser, so I combine both the industry knowledge as well as the regulation and legal side.
Thank you very much. I mean, how to follow these examples. I personally was working in banking for HSBC in the UK, as was mentioned, and my co-founder was working in banking out here. Now, we'd seen in the UK the growth of smartphone-only banks, branchless banks, which people absolutely loved using because it's 2019 or then 2015. Who wants to go to a branch to hand in a form to do a simple transaction? And these were very popular, but each one of those that we'd seen in the UK had to try and prize one of their customers away from, a Barclays or an HSBC or an RBS or whoever, which is hard work. Now, I was out here quite a lot for my work, and my co-founder, as I said, was living out here, and we sort of saw all of the unbanked workers here, anyone who earns less than around 3,000 to 5,000 dirhams a month can't get a bank account here. So we were seeing these queues of people at exchange houses, at ATMs, whatever, trying to get money. And we sort of thought, well, there's this business model that people love, but it's difficult to get customers for. And then in this region, there's this huge raft of people who can't get a bank account. So, using the business model from one market and looking at how we can apply it to another market seemed like a great solution. And I still think it is a great solution, but this region has got its barriers to entry in terms of regulatory issues, getting banking partners, all sorts of different things which make it very difficult to do here. So it took us about 4 years to launch. We launched earlier this year, in no small part thanks to the support from Expo. And since we've launched, we've grown exponentially, and it's made all of those 4 years of hard work and delays and everything really worth it. But yeah, really that's how we came up with the idea and how we started doing it and where we are now.
Thank you. It's great to see that inspiration has at its core in all your 3 cases generating a higher impact. And the reason why I'm saying this is because there is a lot of recent research as well as sustainability literature that says that there is a link between tackling sustainability challenges and reducing or even eliminating them and innovation. Given the fact that each of your platforms are tech-based platforms, how do you see this relationship? What are your thoughts on the link between innovation and impact?
I think that's a very good question. I think the possibility to scale impact is facilitated through technology. And that's very powerful because the impact and the level of scale through technology platforms in fintech, through blockchain, you were saying you verify people as well. The impact and the level of scale is there, especially for internationalization and globalization. So for example, we've launched platforms now in Africa, MENA, Europe, Latin America, all from a little office here in Dubai. So the impact of scale is massive through technology, and again, empowering and facilitating human connections. Because we believe, especially through our work, that we're not here to replace people, but we're here to facilitate empowering, meaningful connections. And that is the theme of Expo. It's connecting minds and creating the future. And in a nutshell, that's what technology can facilitate.
Yeah, I agree with you definitely. In our case, where the technology is supporting, technology and innovation is supporting impactful projects. In our case, we work closely with NGOs and charities that have, tremendous impact level on the communities where they work. So, giving them a new source of funding from digital sources that most of them here in the Middle East they did not tap into. It's going to create a great impact from our side as an example. Using, for example, blockchain to provide a trusted platform for donors and the charities to meet in one place. At the same time, charities can report back their numbers in the platform. It's an amazing thing. So yeah, we see that innovation support the impact. In our case, we can demonstrate that very clearly.
Yeah, I think in our case, we operate in financial services, and something we've seen over the years, really, which isn't exclusive to us, is as technologies have come in and efficiencies have come in as a result of those, is reduced the cost of providing financial services to people, which then means those companies can open it up to people with less money. And that's something that started back in 100 years ago and has only moved on since. And we're the latest iteration of that evolution, really, where by providing a technology-based solution, we just reduce the cost it costs us to provide someone with an account, which means we can profitably provide someone an account who earns as little as 500 dirhams a month. Now, that was never possible before you used these technological innovations. So it's something, I think, in actually all of these models where we don't have to try to have an impact, if you know what I mean. We don't have to transform our business model and focus on being impactful. Just by opening up our platforms to people who otherwise couldn't get access to this stuff, we are impactful.
Exactly, such as in your case, banking the unbanked, or with Thea complementing the traditional educational system where a professor would just go in front of a classroom and present something that is not necessarily targeted for those individuals. And in your case, Abdulla, with having a trusted platform through which impact can be scaled because it offers transparency in terms of which charities you're trying to support. And each one of you touched on scalability of the impact. Now, when it comes to business plan, obviously, that is one side to it, but in order to properly track impact, you also need to have certain measurements in place. And we were discussing earlier, actually, there are some organizations that choose to report on the immediate outcomes, immediate outputs, such as, for instance, in a social impact scene, the number of individuals supported. There are other organizations that go a step further, and they also measure the outcomes. For example, how did those individuals' life can have changed? And lastly, the ones that are monitoring the entire social impact created within a community. And with this being said, I also wanted to learn from you, how do you measure the impact that your initiatives have?
Again, I think through technology, the beauty of technology is we can track everything. So that helps a lot of the automation of tracking of data. So that piece becomes automated and also transparent, which I think is the beauty of technology as well. So through us, through Teach Me Now, for example, we obviously track everyone, we track everything in terms of data. So students that we reach, sessions completed, ratings, reviews, but also impact in terms of revenue generated for people or economic opportunity created for people. And when we license or when we rebrand our technology for different initiatives or NGOs, we track the same sort of data and metrics to give them transparency for their funders, or if they're fundraising, they can also organize and scale their impact as well. So for example, the example in Latin America with People of Determination, instead of revenue generation, it's tracking pro bono volunteering. So mentors from Accenture, Santander Bank, and a few other corporates are very sort of focused on measuring impact and pro bono, but you need to track the time that you're spending in giving these mentorship sessions, and all of that is automated for them in a transparent and trusted way. So I think the beauty of technology is that tracking that data and that transparency.
Yeah, and our, from our side, we the impact we measure is basically the success of the campaign goal. So for example, the charity is trying to raise funds to help water and sanitation programs in the Philippines. We will always reach out to them and send them a form to see, for example, in that particular project, how many people are benefited from that project that was funded in the platform. And we do that in the platform for any fundraising campaign that reached its goal or it's ended and raised some funding. So we provide a form that give the direct impact outputs. Let's say the number of beneficiaries that benefited from the educational projects or from any project. And then we also ask the charity to report back to the donors, because we don't do it, it's not our job, but at least we encourage the charity to give them the platform. It has a lot of innovative tools where they can put the statistics, etc., and they send the details to their donors.
Yeah, for us I think it's relatively straightforward in a way, because none of our customers had access to banking accounts before, so everyone we give an account for, it's a direct metric to someone who we've included in the financial system, so that's relatively straightforward. And then, the next level on is the time you've saved them or the money you've saved them, again, which is sort of a secondary one. The one that really intrigues me personally, and we'll never be able to track, is the knock-on effects of that. We can credit score people, which allows them to borrow money, which then allows them to, I don't know what, build a house or a company in their home country, which then might employ lots of people, give wealth to their family. We'll never know the knock-on effects of that, and I think it's exactly the same with these guys. Who knows what they've done with that education? They might become the next, president of the UN after they've got through their internships. And with the charities, the projects that get funded, we'll never know what they are. And I think all of us can see the immediate impacts, and I think there's massive future impacts that unfortunately we'll never know, and we'll just have to sort of be confident that they're happening.
Exactly, and when it comes to knock-on effects, as you said, they are the most difficult one, not only to be measured, but also to be tracked, because you can never follow that particular individual over the course of their lives to see how their lives have changed actually. And there are obviously global standards that can be used in order to measure impact, such as GRI, also with the SDGs coming in place in 2015, that as well gives the unique opportunity of reporting impact in a universal language, some of which is also given by GRI indicators and so on. But obviously that's the 2030 agenda. I wanted now to come back to next year, which is just around the corner, 2020, and the Expo. You have been selected from over 6,900 applicants. Only 120 were selected. So congratulations once again. And because obviously Expo 2020 is an event that globally all the world is looking forward to, and for yourselves it's not only a grant of up to $100,000, but also, as you've mentioned, it was further support in terms of facilitating business opportunities and being showcased during Expo 2020. For those in the audience that are also interested to apply, what would your advice be to them? Why do you think, in your case, your model stood out, and how did you benefit from being a global innovator so far?
Yeah, I'll say let's ask Anna this question. I think in our case, also the colleagues here, we all demonstrated, we're an impact-driven initiative. So we demonstrate impact, we demonstrate the ways how we can measure the impact. But I think the most important thing is the story behind the innovation. And being a fundraiser, right? I mean, as a Bedouin boy, I fundraised in my first fundraising experience when I was a little kid in the Syrian desert. And I fundraised for my school, which was a tent. And here I am in 2018, fundraising, but using the latest technology, blockchain. So I think demonstrating this personal stories is very powerful in front of the eyes of Expo judges.
Thank you.
I would also link, and something that I'm very proud of as Expo Innovators and also working with Expo Live is sticking true to your values. And I think Expo Live has done a fantastic job of focusing on values, but also living and breathing them. So throughout this whole Expo experience, collaborating with other Expo Innovators and seeing and connecting to the other innovators, I think that's the common theme among all of us is sticking true to those values and that inspiration that Jana was talking about earlier, and that's truly alive in the Expo Innovator family. So that's something that I would really emphasize and focus on and make sure you highlight as well.
Yeah, why we were chosen, I mean, again, I don't know. I'm glad we were. I think as you say, like, the values and the story come through. Like, and also we're a local company, and I believe at the time we were the only local company that you guys had actually worked with, which was really cool, because let's not forget the Expo is here, and there's lots of people who need our support here, so it's really nice to be able to do that. The benefits for it for us, and I was discussing this with you guys earlier, is that probably not for us. The exposure was great, but it wasn't the biggest impact. For us, it was actually the sort of endorsement that comes. Expo 2020, people kind of trust that you're legit. And for a financial services company, a new financial services company, that's hugely, hugely valuable. So for us, that was the biggest benefit, but I know it's different for everyone, and it has had lots of benefits, but that's been the biggest one for us.
Thank you. So it's all about showcasing the inspiration for your own projects. And now, before letting you go and opening it up to our audience for more questions, because I'm sure you'll get some challenging questions from them, I wanted to ask you, because obviously your businesses are tech-based, actually tech for good, as you very well mentioned. And how do you see your industries evolving over the next period, and where do you next want to take your businesses?
Again, a great question. So I think every industry is changing, right? So be it through financial services, fundraising, education, healthcare, every industry is changing, and technology is that sort of next industrial revolution that we're seeing. So for us in the edtech world and the education world, it's certainly changing towards technology, but I want to emphasize that human connection is still very important. So I don't believe that a robot or an AI or a bot will replace a human interaction, in the sense that learning is still a very personal experience. But I do believe that technology can facilitate these meaningful connections. And I think that's very important to mention, because technology sometimes is quite scary, and we hear about all the sort of negative effects of technology, but it can also have, as we said, a tech for good impact, and that human connection is very important. For us, moving forward, we're also very proud to say we started here in the UAE, but we have a global impact. And for us, in the next sort of 10 to 20 years, it's growing further globally. We already have global impact, but it's to scale that impact further globally.
So from our side, I mean, we are working on an industry that is untapped before, and we see a great potential. Just want to give you just one small example how big this industry is. In a country like Egypt alone, the mandatory giving by the month of Ramadan, which is Zakat al-Fitr. It's evaluated to be $250 million in one country in 1 month, leave alone Zakat, which we have created a blockchain system for it, and other voluntary giving elements. So our industry is huge, and we're very lucky to be the first company to work on it from digital and online side. And we're very optimistic also in the future with the recognition and acknowledgement from Expo 2020.
Yeah, I think in our industry it's quite clear how technology is changing it. People probably send money now on your mobile, whereas 5 years you never would. 5 years ago you never would have. And everyone can see how it's moving forward. So I think for us, we want to be part of that in terms of just moving that forwards. We do things that perhaps banks can't do as quickly. Often it scares them a bit. They think they're going to get competed out, and then they innovate and they improve things, and that actually ends up benefiting the customers. So in terms of how we fit in with that whole innovation journey, I don't mind. I want to do things quickly, and I want to be innovative and provide our customers with the best possible service and include as many people as we can. But I think part of the bigger picture is we're moving the whole industry forwards a little bit by being competition to these guys. So, yeah.
I think the conclusion here is that the world is changing, and we just need to adapt and go with the flow. Thank you very much, guys. And now, who would like to go for the first question?
Hi. Hi. Education. I saw a video the other day on Facebook where a guy had a thing connected to his head, and they asked him some random question, and he asked Google through his brain, and he answered them real time. So my point is, you don't need to learn anything anymore in the future. You know what I mean? All the information is there at your wish. Is that going to be a challenge in your intentions or something?
What is the point of education? So is it just repeating knowledge, or is it preparing yourself for whatever happens? So I think education in itself, by definition, is also changing. It's not just learning to get a certificate or to complete an exam. It's also to prepare yourself to deal with life, whatever life may be with technology. So if you are connected to something with Singularity, for example, or connected to this robot, whatever it was you were talking about, and it gets disconnected, then what happens? A very good question.
Hi, my name is Salim Hassan. As a fellow entrepreneur, I commend and congratulate each and every one of you for achieving the success thus far. My question to each and every one of you is the following. Obviously, you've gone down through a journey, and the journey is paved with all kinds of challenges that come along the way. I'd love to hear from each and every one of you, in a very simple terms, what keeps you up at night? What are your challenges today, right now? I'd love to hear that. Thank you.
For me, banks and regulators.
There are many for me, but I really enjoy them. I enjoy being challenged. I mean, that's one thing comes with entrepreneurial journey, right? Facing challenge, facing risk. I have a lot of battles with the regulators as well, so that can really happen sometimes. But I would say, and I was talking about it with other colleagues, every time we meet clients, we hear from them new challenges. And those challenges sometimes could be very opportunistic for us. So how to take this challenge, convert it into an opportunity for us in our industry.
I agree. I think entrepreneurship is by definition challenges and learning from those. But for me, I think it's, of course, there are regulation challenges in my industry as well. But for me, I think it's making sure that we find and retain and inspire the right talent. Because I believe business is about people, no matter what industry you're in. And finding the right people can make or break your business. So we have some amazing people with us today, but it's making sure that they are inspired and grow with us, and attracting the future talent as well.
So actually, I'm the next question here. So following Salim's question, So beyond the challenges, what is your immediate need today? So, you know, obviously you've got this incredible platform and you've had some, whether it's seed or sort of a further injection of capital into your ventures. You know, is there anything that any of us in the room, you know, what would kind of be your need beyond regulation issues and challenges? Can any of us help with anything? That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this question. It's really good. In my case, I'm always open for learning. So if anybody who think he can mentor me, can coach me how I can expand my businesses, would be great. I can meet you after the event. And in terms of like my, in the need of my business, we are fundraising for an expansion capital because there is a need in many countries in the region. So so if anybody want to be part of this amazing platform, innovative platform, it's welcome to talk to us about it.
Yeah, great question. I'm gonna sort of take that as an offer as well. So hopefully, I think for us, we get our customers by working with their employers. So we work with a company and it employs 100, 200, 5,000, whatever the number is, low-income workers, and we provide all of their employees with accounts, and then the employer pays their salary onto the Now Money account. So most immediately, any corporates that might want to work with us would be amazing. And then separately, we also work with we integrate with other financial services companies here, so that would include exchange houses, banks, those sort of companies. So yeah, any sort of interesting leads there, or anyone you think could sort of work in our ecosystem, we're always taking on new leads and new people, so yeah, please feel free to reach out.
Great question. I agree. So we're also looking for corporate partners and people to work with. So our software as well is completely rebranded for different schools, enterprises. So for example, GEMS Education is one of our biggest clients. So it's GEMS teachers with GEMS students. And we've also recently expanded into healthcare. So we're the first regulated telehealth platform in the UAE with Dubai Healthcare City Authority. So now you can also book doctors on demand through our platform. But it looks and feels like the clinics or the hospital or the regulators. So we're expanding into healthcare in different verticals. So very open to any potential partners or commercial partnerships that you see. So similar to the previous two comments. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Mohammad Ashraf. My question is related to the innovation. If we have seen the history of innovation in the world, that they have changed or they created the regulations. They were not bound by the regulations. So my question to all three of you, or maybe I can narrate it slightly individually as well. For example, in education, yes, there are regulatory challenges as well, and maybe are you today able to change the actual education system? Can you have your own certification or the accreditation which is accepted by the world, like MBAs and BBAs? And the same is for the fundraising. You have adopted a very good technology, blockchain, and blockchain is usually misunderstood as used for cryptocurrency or the virtual currency only. So how you are taking, or how you are dealing with the challenge of using blockchain but dealing with the actual currency? This is related to some sort of regulation and the innovation going beyond the regulation. And to Ian, as like you mentioned, and I'm very much aware because I am also related to fintech, and these regulators and banks are keeping me awake as well. So my question to you is that, are you really coming up with a true sense of innovation which takes your initiative far beyond the regulations? So that's what is needed, I believe, for today's generation or the millennials who are thinking of or who are claiming that they are taking up with any innovation or innovative idea.
We're very proud to say that we've shaped regulation both in the education space and in the healthcare space. And it's very rare for startups and technology companies to actually shape regulation at that level. We also see things in a collaborative way. So when we work with companies like GEMS Education, one of the largest private education groups in the world, we also shape the education world through working with massive companies or regulators in a collaborative sense, using technology for innovation?
From our side, I would like to say, from the regulation perspective, we have full support from His Highness Sheikh Hamdan, the Crown Prince, through his royal court. So they've been very supportive to support our idea, and also from the International Humanitarian City. To the technical side, so we use blockchain to register all transactions. Our platform support also cryptocurrency donation. However, with the grant from Expo Life, we are going to launch our own tokenized donation and our coin as well very soon. And the government are so far very happy with it.
Yeah, I think with us, what we can do is probably about 3 steps ahead of what we're actually able to do with regulation, as you're probably aware of. But we're very proud also to have led a lot of the regulation here. We were in the first 2 regulatory sandboxes in the region. We have worked very closely with the central bank here in trying to help, because a lot of the time they don't want to stop new innovations, but until they really understand them, I mean, how can they legislate for them? So a big part of companies like ours and startups is actually working with the regulators and helping them to understand what it is, and then once they understand it, they can make legislation for it, which allows us to do what we want to do. So we are constantly working with regulators, not for any charitable reason, just because we want them to allow us to do cool stuff. So yeah, it's just part and parcel of what we do, to be honest. It sort of takes up, 10-20% of our time, but we enjoy it, and it's useful for us and it's useful for the ecosystem.
We have time for one more question, so I'll just pass the microphone to you, and afterwards anyone that would like to engage further with our 3 global innovators and with Diana, please do so.
Hi. Firstly, awesome job. Like, every one of you is doing some great stuff, and it's really exciting to see where you'll end up. My name's Ali Samir. Just a little bit of context. I come from a corporate strategy background, where I work with startups on advisory, as well as venture capital for investment. So just putting that hat on, my question to all of you is, where do you see your end state? Because the way I look at your platforms, they're all platform plays. Neither of them are pure enterprise solutions, where you're trying to build your businesses as solutions as sales to corporates. So they're consumer platform plays, where either you're targeting the lower class for banking products, where you're looking to do mass fundraising on a technology platform or education. My idea is, where's the end state based on your thesis or vision? Why? For Teach Me Now, it's already a global platform. You have supply and demand on either side from different countries. But now you mentioned you're doing a healthcare on demand. Does that make you an on-demand doctor's platform? Very different from teaching. So I just want to understand what that end state is, because that end state will drive valuations and therefore fundraising in the future. Similarly to Yalla Give, is it just to be a global fundraising platform, which will use crypto tokens and actually increase value of your own business through the value of your own crypto increasing? Or is it more about making bottom line through transaction fees and services, which all of us in this room in technology know is difficult to do with consumer plays, especially that are digital? And then on the Now Money side, is it a deposit play only? Or is it a neobank play, which is going to be targeted to the bottom of the pyramid, focusing on starting with deposits, but then expanding into credit and savings products, and then therefore equities and investments? So just to kind of have just an insight into what your vision is as the end state for all your businesses. Thank you.
Yeah, good and very big question. I think for us, we want to be the best financial services firm in the GCC. Not the best for poor people, the best. So, you're earning 3,000 dirhams a month as a construction worker, maybe even less. You are going to have the best account, even better than what you get by Mashreq or ENBD or whoever else. And there's no reason we think in 2019, with the innovations available to us, that can't be the case. So that's our vision. Now, where will that lead us? It could lead us to exiting to a local bank or an international bank or a private equity. I mean, who knows? But I think if we stay true to our values and our mission, which is creating the best financial services company in the region, the rest will follow.
From our side, I don't know why I do not describe us as an enterprise solution where we have a lot of enterprises in our platform. For example, the first corporate ever to register in our platform and to fundraise for charities is General Electric, which is considered to be the second largest companies in the world. Abu Dhabi Global Market, which is a regulatory agency in Abu Dhabi, they're also fundraising on the platform. HSBC Bank, and you name it. So we're definitely providing an enterprise solution. But it's a great question related to the administrative fee and being able to sell the token, make money from the token. So at the moment, our business model, our income comes from two main income streams. First one is the percentage that we charge the donor when they make a donation, because we want to make sure that the net donation is untouched. And the second one is the digital fundraising solutions, because here in the region, when you go to a local charity run by traditional charitable person and tell them this is online fundraising, they don't know what this online fundraising is, right? So we start making packages for them. We take everything, we do the fundraising on their behalf, and we take from them a monthly subscription fee. And this is so far growing really fast. So we have more and more organizations are subscribing for this digital services. But eventually, we really don't want to rely on this 4%. Our ultimate aim is to have our crypto token, our coin, that people, instead of donating, buying the coin, and then sending it to the charity as a donation.
So when we originally started as a consumer-facing play, consumer-to-consumer marketplace model, very simple. But we were quick to realize actually that our IP and our value was actually in our technology, not in the consumer marketplace user base. And that happened specifically when GEMS Education came to us and said, we love your platform, we love your technology, how can we use it for us? And they have a massive captive audience that we didn't have to pay to acquire. So our end state, or our goal, is to be an ecosystem player, where all professional service providers, be it in healthcare, be it in education, or be it knowledge sharing, is done through us. But we are the engine or the technology behind it. So Teach Me Now becomes a use case and is sort of an internal use case for us. But all of these on-demand platforms that you see popping up is actually hosted or run through us. And that is our ecosystem play in terms of data, IP, and technology.
Thank you very much. Thank you.